about emissions. So what does the aerosol look like? And so what we do is we put these devices, well, we put cigarettes and then also these devices on what's called a smoking machine, and we collect the aerosol. So there are standardized ways to sort of smoke or vape these devices and to collect the aerosol. So this is one, like you saw on the previous slide, this compares cigarette smoke, glow, and Vipe e-pen, which is one of our vaping devices. And you can see that cigarette is the most complicated, dirty aerosol. Glow is much, much simpler, but Vipe is the cleanest and the simplest aerosol. On the wall over here, you can see another, this is another way of representing the aerosol. So every one of these peaks represents a different compound. So cigarette smoke has 6,500 to 7,000 compounds, and e-cig aerosol has between 10 and 100. So it's much, 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 much simpler, much cleaner. So this is a visual look at the aerosols. We also very, very precisely measure the contents of the aerosols. So there are two groups of chemicals that we measure in our next generation products and compare to cigarettes. The first group of chemicals is the WHO top 9 priority toxicants. People also call it TOB Reg 9. Is that a familiar term to you? They're maybe the worst, most dangerous toxicants found in cigarette smoke. So if you look at Vipe e-pen, because there is no combustion, there is 99% of those toxicants is just not present. It's missing.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's a
Sorry.
occupational hazard. So the second group of chemicals we look at is the FDA's priority 18 chemicals. And again, you can see with Vipe e-pen, there is a greater than 99% difference between cigarette smoke aerosol and the Vipe aerosol. It's very, very similar for glow. It's not quite as good, but 97, 96% is a substantial, significant reduction in the amount of toxicants that are present in the emissions. So we feel pretty good about this first step. We can show that there are huge, huge reductions in the toxicants present in the aerosol. Do you want to take a picture of this?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And always for the reference product, we use a scientific reference cigarette that's called 3R4F, that is prepared by the University of Kentucky, so that studies done across the industry or by academics who are interested in this field, they always have the same reference product. The next step is about exposure. So what happens when you expose cells to these aerosols? We know the gold standard for proving that these products are less dangerous is epidemiology, but that takes at least 20 years. And we don't have 20 years. We think these products are less dangerous, and we think they should be available to consumers now. The first group of tests that we do here are called regulatory toxicology tests, and they assess genotoxicology, which is about DNA damage, and also cytotoxicity, which is about the ability of an aerosol to kill a cell. So we do two different tests for genotoxicity, and you can see that the Vipe e-pen has no mutagenicity, which means it's not genotoxic. And for cytotoxicity, there's a 91% reduction compared to the reference cigarette. So in terms of regulatory toxicology tests, again, we feel pretty good that these aerosols are less dangerous than cigarette smoke. For glow, it's very, very similar. There's no mutagenicity, and there's a huge reduction in cytotoxicity. The next group of tests that we do we call them in vitro disease models. So we don't have time for epidemiology, so what we do is we try and create tests that tell us something about the early stages of disease. So we know that oxidative stress underpins a lot of smoking-related diseases. So we have some tests for oxidative stress. And we also have tests that are related to cardiovascular disease, lung cancer, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. The most visual of these is an assay over there on the wall. I think it's worth going to have a look at it. Is that going to be, are people okay to stand up and come over to have a look? At the top, so you can see there's a wound. It'll go around to the beginning in a minute, but there's a wound and you can see the cells are moving together to close up that wound. At the bottom is exposure to a cigarette smoke aerosol. And you can see, here we are at the start, you can see that the normal cells or untreated are moving together, but the cigarette smoke aerosol, the cells are inhibited from moving. So, you know, cigarette smoke is it's not something you want to be exposing yourself to, really. And then in the middle, you have exposure to an e-cig aerosol. And you can see the behavior is very, very similar between the e-cig aerosol and the untreated. So, although this is not definitive proof by itself, it becomes another piece of evidence in a package of results that we would share with the outside world, that we feel confident that the e-cig aerosol is, much less dangerous than a cigarette smoke aerosol. So this is one of a number of in vitro disease model tests that we have. It's the most visual. We can give you a copy of this video if you wish. So we can the disease models that we have. The next generation product aerosol has limited impact on them. I would like to tell you a little bit about indoor air quality. So people who are sitting with people who are vaping or perhaps using THP, you can smell the flavor, the flavors in the vapor, or you can see vapor, and people wonder, what does that actually mean? Is it like smoke? Is it dangerous like, being a bystander with smoke? So we have a way of, a very technical way of measuring the quality of the air. We have a special room that is set up to monitor the particles that are in the air. That's the kind of take-home message. And then the graph showing the results is here. So what you do in this experiment is you have a room for smokers and then a different room for glow. The people smoking will smoke a cigarette, and then they will have a break, and then they will smoke another cigarette and take a break, smoke another cigarette over a 4-hour period. And you can see that the particles in the room, there's a lot of particles in the room, and you can see that the particles fall when the smoker is not smoking, and they rise when a cigarette is being smoked. And in contrast, the line down here at the bottom that you can barely see is the number of particles left behind by glow, so this tobacco heating device. In fact, this green line here is the World Health Organization's outside air quality standard. So inside a closed space, the use of glow meets an external air quality standard, in contrast to cigarettes, which we know fail that test. So if you are someone working in hospitality, or you don't need to worry too much about being exposed to too much when someone's using this kind of device. We've done similar tests for vaping products, and it gives a similar type of result. We've also assessed odor left behind on hands, hair, and clothes. Before the smoking bans in the UK, if I went to the pub, I would come home and my clothes, my hair, my hands they would have a cigarette smell, wouldn't they? And you can see with this test that there are significant reductions in the odor left on fabric, hair, and hands when someone is using glow. And again, it's very, very similar, even stronger odor reductions with vaping products. So I don't need to do that. So the last couple of things I want to talk about. In the UK, there is a growing consensus that e-cigarettes, that vaping products, should be used for harm reduction. The Public Health England, which is a part of the Department of Health of the UK government, released a report in August 2015, and they reviewed all the available evidence, and they said the current best estimate is that e-cigarettes are around 95% less harmful than smoking. That's a part of the UK government saying that. The Royal College of Physicians, which is a very important membership organization for doctors in the UK, they have also said in a report released April 2016 that we should promote e-cigarettes widely as a substitute for smoking, in addition to nicotine replacement therapy. ASH, which is the Action on Smoking and Health, it's an anti-tobacco charity, or a public health charity in the UK. Compared to tobacco products, e-cigarettes are significantly safer. Cancer Research UK has also made similar statements. And actually, in October, in the UK in October, there's a public health campaign called Stoptober, and they want to encourage people to give up smoking in October. So, Stoptober. It's one of these silly things. The French have something similar in November, actually. But the Stoptober 27 campaign, for the first time, this campaign backed e-cigarettes as an alternative to smoking. So that's a very significant moment, I think. And then the last couple of things I'll talk about is about BAT's open approach. So, this room is science engagement in action. You're here, you're the 60 or 61st group of visitors that we've hosted in Southampton this year. All of the people who've come here have wanted to learn about next generation products and the science that we're doing around this. So we believe that openness and transparency is very, very important. We have published what we think is perhaps the biggest data set about a vaping product, the Vape e-pen. It's here on the table. Could you pass me the middle one? Yeah. So this document contains 18 peer-reviewed articles that we've published about the Vape e-pen. And so this is a very, very significant data set about a vaping product. We just published a couple of weeks ago a significant data set, thank you, about Glow. So this is 9 scientific articles in a journal called Regulatory Toxicology and Pharmacology that have the first few steps around chemistry, regulatory toxicology, tests of the Glow device. So we think it's very, very important to publish. It's very, very important to have our doors open and to invite people in. So just in summary, we have a scientific framework established to substantiate the risk reduction potential of next generation products. All of our next generation products operate differently to a cigarette. There is no combustion. Therefore, the aerosols that are produced are simpler and cleaner. Preclinical assessment, which is a group of these tests before doing clinical studies, preclinical assessment shows that Vape e-pen and Glow has the potential to be reduced risk relative to cigarettes, and that's what all of this stuff here is. And we're beginning to do clinical studies as well on these products. And our NGPs produce less odor and reduce the impact on indoor air quality compared to cigarettes. And as much as possible, we are publishing our results in the peer-reviewed literature. So that's kind of a hop, skip, and a jump through risk assessment of these products and also the products that we have for sale in different parts of the world.